Welcome to 10 Things We Love, and we're on the horror section again. As you can see by my guest next to me, we're doing 10 Things We Love about the Return of the Living Dead, the 1985 zombie classic horror, in my opinion. We actually said we'd do it on the Exorcist video, so we actually followed through. Bit of brief history. This is basically my favourite horror movie. Now, I know it has numerous problems that makes a lot of people think it's silly, cheesy, bad, or whatever, and all those reasons. And we'll get to some of them in the hate video. This is all about the love. But for me, it's basically my favourite horror movie ever because it's pretty much what turned me on to horror. I saw it as a very young age, far too young to watch a movie like that, even for the comedic elements. And I do think if I saw it as an adult for the first time, I might not love it.
Yeah,
I might like it, but I don't know if I'd love it. Whereas, because it's got such memories for me, scenes that scared me, and I will always love any movie, particularly in the zombie genre, that will be ballsy enough to try something new, you know? Particularly modern day now, zombies are done to death. I'm always more intrigued, no matter what it is, even if it doesn't work, if you try something new within the zombie idea. You know, there's been 1,000,001 just, they eat flesh and there's lots of them. So, and the fact that this was done in 1985, you know, the golden era of horror, the 80s, says to me like there was some real forward thinking there, some really interesting ideas. I think a lot of them work, I think some of them don't, but there you go. So, 10 things we love about the Return of the Living Dead. Do you want to get started?
Yeah.
Go on.
Number one, the soundtrack.
Right.
Big thing. It's very fun and punky. Some really classic songs that kind of just completely place it right in the 80s. Tone to other films as well.
Well, as expected and as is the norm, we double up on this. I also, and in fact it's my first one, is I have the words "the fucking soundtrack." Yeah, exactly what you said. It's punk rock, mostly. Yeah, it's punk rock mostly. A little bit of harder, heavy hitting stuff, and it fits, I think, most scenes. You know, you think scenes in that movie, and you think in first introduction, the actual credit roll that starts 10 minutes after the movie starts, and the music that plays there. Trash's song there, Tonight, that's by SOS, I believe. The song that plays when Frank kills himself in the Inferno. Like, this is just an incredibly done soundtrack. Really, really, really good stuff. Do You Want to Party? The more punk, really, that one that plays several times throughout it. And then there's even some more lighter, upbeater kind of stuff when it shouldn't be upbeat music. Like the moment where the zombies are kind of knocking down the barricades into the church. And the sort of the kind of almost like, I don't know, not country, but like
music for a montage.
Yeah, that kind of thing. But it just fits so well. So yeah, I mean, already as I say, we double up. It's the soundtrack. It's got a fantastic soundtrack. When I go again, then that was my one as well. See how many more we double up on.
The animatronics and the puppet work on Tarman.
Okay. I mean, I've got a similar one. I've got the Tarman costume.
Yeah.
You know, specifically more than anything else. Yeah, go on, carry on. Was that it?
No. No, he actually looks undead and the whole.
I think it's the best costume in the movie. I think, as you'd see in the hate video, there are issues in regards to makeup and certain effects and certain things.
But I think they got it right on the head with that.
Yeah, like they clearly put a lot of effort in. The actor that plays him with his disjointed body movements and the way he walks with his really elongated legs.
Which is what you want from...
It fits, and you know he's covered in that shit, and you kind of look at it and you're studying it and you're trying to see sort of areas, and like even when he opens his mouth wide up close, like the way they've done it with the black thing that's inside his mouth,
Yeah.
It works. You know, he's got bright white teeth. It just fits. It works really well. And you obviously mentioned animatronics. It's not mine, but I'll jump in here in regards to. I presume you're talking about the animatronics of the
half woman.
the
Yeah,
half
yeah,
woman.
yeah, half woman.
Which is incredibly well done as well. You know, the fact that it's like I said, that's an animatronic. It's a robot. It moves the way it leans forward when Ernie tries to talk to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yes, it's really well done.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, we double up again, kind of. So go again. You can go again. The third one.
The character relationships.
Okay.
Sort of, so even like sort of small, like the sort of brief conversations people have, you get an idea of their relationships. I'm trying to think of how to
Well, the relationships, as you say,
like
yeah.
the comedic timing and.
It's clear, although there's so many of them, so they don't all get lots of screen time. To me, it was always clear that they are friends. They're a bunch of misfits that came together. They're a family. You see that with certain. A lot of times it's actions. I'll give you a great example. So this is really fresh in our heads because we've literally just 20 minutes ago finished watching it just to kind of refresh the mind. And there's a scene basically when the first sort of kicks off in the graveyard, and Spider is the first that gets on top of the crypt, and he mentions about having to swim over the massive lake, and that's where the skeleton comes up. As people are he's pulling them up. And he hugs Tina. He grabs trash. It's
make
like
sure they're safe.
Exactly. It's things like that. And when they reunite right at the very end, Spider and what's his name? The nerdy one. Yeah, they hug.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like and stuff like that.
Glad to see each other.
Yeah, you know, that stuff like that I agree with. I'm gonna lead that into my first one because it is similar but not quite. I sort of put the well-defined characters and the excellent actors that portray them. When I say well-defined characters, I think even with the brief time you get a deep enough impression of what each one is particularly like. And a lot of it's maybe just down to a costume or certain lines of dialogue. You know, we've got like the nerdy one, we've got Suicide, who played by Mark Venturi, who's obviously out punk, but isn't really accepted as such. You know, they kind of like it's almost like it's a gimmick to him kind of thing. We get Trash, obviously, the way she is, where it's clear that she wants to be this wacky, unusual person, but it doesn't really fly, particularly in that group. And you've got Spider, who's, he's well-spoken. He, at one point, pulls not a watch, what do they call them? The watches that are on strings, you put it in your pocket. Pocket watch, that's what I mean, pocket watch. And uses that to tell the time. And things like that. All to the older characters as well. Your Bert, your Ernie's, your Franks. You instantly know what Frank is like. He's a wind-up merchant the way he winds up Freddy. Yeah. But he's also a loving family man when he has a conversation with his wife. But he also is very respectful towards Bert in the sense that everything's call the boss. He'll deal with it. But as well, he's a character that clearly toes the line. He never openly says it, but it's clear that So he walks the line, not toes the line, walks the line about what's legal and what's not. Yeah. And you see that when he tries to cover it up and he's more worried about the business and all that. But even that side of him drops later on when he kind of realizes his friends, Frank, in trouble. Yeah, like that kind of thing. And obviously you get, you get Ernie, who's really trusting and, and so on. But also in the face of everything, it's probably the most level-headed one. Right at the very end, during a panic moment where it's all going to shit, he ends up slapping Spider to try and keep control of him. And even at the end, you'd never see this, but it's part of the freeze frame scene. He's clearly going to shoot Tina and then himself to stop Freddy getting to them. Yeah. That's the thing. And the actors, I don't think there's a I don't think anybody does bad in this. No. I think there's a few that have a few rubbish kinds of dialogue.
Yeah, but a bit slightly,
I think Linnea Quigley's dialogue is a little bit sometimes. And but I don't blame her because she's a great actress. I just think she was given it she's given stuff that's supposed to make Trash seem so goth and weird and stuff, and it kind of comes across a bit weird, but then that might have been exactly what he was after, Dan O'Bannon and so on. But the cast of having these young, fresh, new people, and then your classic ones, your Clu Gallagher's, Don Calfers, it's against the younger. It just gels so bloody well. Yeah. And the way they all portray terror and horror and fear and stuff like that. Beverly, whatever her last name is, Beverly Randolph, who plays
Tina.
Is fantastic at the end. She's almost catatonic. You have to carry her off the floor. Yeah, because she's upset. Freddy clearly has a blast. Tom Matthews playing Freddy clearly has a blast getting to play the zombie at the end. Yeah. Up to that point, most of it's been lying there and sick and stuff. So when you get to suddenly now you're going to get to move around and do this, it's exciting. Obviously James Karen, who is a legend in himself. Fantastic. Yeah, I just think it's very hard for me to watch that and go, oh, that person didn't do good, that person didn't do good, and so on. Like even the military guy, Colonel Glover, I don't know the actor's name. He's all in it brief, but you get such a sense of authority from him. How he handles the end and the speaking and the straightforwardness. Like, I expected this and this is what I need to do. And totally detached from the fact he's going to drop a bomb.
People, yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. There you go. Okay, go on.
The running zombies. So
okay.
They're not sort of slow, dragging their ass zombies. They're actually just like sprinting at you.
Yep.
So you've got no chance to kind of like assess where I can go because you can see it in the distance. It's just going to run at you.
Yeah.
I thought that was quite a creepy element to it rather than just the usual zombies that slop around.
Yeah, I think that ties back to what I said at the start, which was it was something different. I'd never seen when this movie came about. I'd never seen a zombie idea where they could run, and you can go, well, aren't they supposed to be dead and all that kind of thing? And it's like, oh come on, man, they're already dead. It's like the rules can be whatever you want them to be, however you choose. And yeah, like that is one of like my scenes I sort of remember as a kid, and it's when the second pair of paramedics come along, and the actors involved in the second paramedic getting killed, the first one kind of just gets swamped. The second one, I always think, God, man, good on the zombie that did it, but also the guy playing the paramedic. So think to the scene, and the second paramedic tries to run and gets rugby tackled. Yeah. I mean, that zombie flies into him, knocking him over. Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, that's what I love. Things like that. And that's in the rain and the wet. And it was just like everyone was dedicated to make sure that looked as scary and shit as it is. When the cops all drive in, the mass of cops, and all get out of cars and then get swamped, It's just, Just another
level of like menacing them rather than just like, oh, I've got ages to go.
It's the fact, you always have that thing with zombies. Well, you can outrun them. They'll follow you, but you can outrun them. Yeah. You don't outrun this lot. No. They run. I think it's a great one. Yeah. Okay, well, my next one then is, it's kind of mentioned already, but it's Frank's death. It's one of my most favourite scenes in the entire movie. I think the way the music plays, the whole horror. It's a really horrible scene.
Yeah.
Like, it's just...
To make that decision to go, right, that's it.
And if you don't know, he basically sees what happens to Freddy and makes a decision to not become a zombie and put himself inside the incinerator. The crematorium.
Closes the door on himself.
Yeah, and closes the door on himself. And it kind of, you hear a scream that fades out to like the front of it. It's a pretty horrifying thing. I know he's done it for the right reason. Interesting story about this, factual. The whole reason that scene exists is James Cameron did not want to go out in the rain. He wasn't feeling well, he wasn't feeling great, and originally he was supposed to become a zombie and be part of the Horde. Something they would actually use in the Return of the Living Dead Part 2. What's called, but he didn't want to go out in the rain and so on. So he came up with the idea of this.
Yeah.
And
I think it works.
I think it's better than what would have been the case.
Yeah.
We already had Freddy being a zombie. Let's have a different take on it. That kind of thing.
And again, like he kind of caused it by kicking the. Obviously didn't mean to, but he caused it by kicking the drum. And the incinerator was pretty much what started it anyway, really. So you kind of harking back to the incinerator caused it. So he's gonna.
Yeah, responsible. And this, he puts his wedding ring on the switch and stuff like that. It's. Yeah, James Cameron really sold that scene, and it's just grim. In a movie it's a grim movie, but it's a light kind of grim because it's a horror comedy. It's just so grim. Yeah.
Burn the flames. Higher, higher, and higher. And the music fills and fills, terrifies, horrifies, forever scares. The children of the night. So burn.
My next one. How real the turning into zombies felt. So with Frank and Freddy.
Yeah, great one.
It didn't look pleasant, and when they were going with rigor mortis sitting in it, the screaming as well. It felt really, it wasn't pleasant to watch really. And for a film, it goes from comedic to that. It does kind of make you, I didn't like it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
The whole middle of that film is a lot of them lying there and screaming and twisted in pain and stuff, you know? I agree, it's not actually very nice, and it's actually kind of like, when it stops hurting and Freddy dies, like becomes a proper one of the zombies, you know, you can almost like feel a sense of relief for him, right?
Yeah, yeah,
you know?
it's hard to watch him, but yeah.
Yeah, it is true. My next one then is going to go back to kind of like just the overall general feel of the film. I think it nailed the comedy and horror perfectly. And when we say comedy, this isn't like a laugh out loud, haha, that's a funny scene.
Just bits,
it's just
moments.
Yeah, like a lot of the tension, be it dialogue or interactions. You know, something as simple as oh, Trash has taken off her clothes again, and you're like, oh, she does this all the time.
It's a little party piece.
Even at the end, like when they're in the warehouse, what's it called, Bert with Spider and the other two, and he's like, oh, we've totaled the car. Oh, my car's like that, and we don't see it, but they blow up, and you hear some zombies scream like they've been hurt, and it's like, okay, that kind of comedy. It's just like it's there. There's a little bit a lot of it's thanks to the soundtrack, I think.
Yeah.
You know, it's just certain silly moments, particularly earlier on when, like, you know, interaction between Tom Matthews and James Cameron's characters, Frank and Freddy, and they're dealing with the cadaver that comes out of the room, the naked cadaver.
Yeah.
And it's about the movie, you know, trying to kill it with a head, and even the Rabid Weasel sequence. Like, it's that kind of, like, silliness that exists where it's just like, okay, you know? I think it gets that pretty much perfect where you don't describe it as a horror comedy. No. But you're like, we were telling someone, like, you'd be like, it's not an out and out horror. Yeah. But even then, it really is. Like, yeah.
Get him off, Frank! Fucking brain!
Then do something else for goddammit, sake!
Hold him down, Frank.
I can't stand this any longer. Oh, shit!
Hold him down now, hold him down.
What are you gonna do?
Go on,
Trash. Just a character.
Yeah.
Because I always look at like characters like that and go, oh, I do quite like that kind of ballsiness. And you can sort of say like she's just trying to play a part and that's her character, but I do like a sort of badassness of everything in the film. So it's like she's vulnerable as well. So for all her kind of gesturing and being a punk and hard chick, when it all starts raining and she's kind of stuck and cold, she does moan and whine like. Yeah. She's like, oh, I'm covered in rat. Like she does kind of go back to like.
She stops kind of speaking like a sexy goth, you know, like,
actually, I don't want this kind of death. Like, when she talks about being pulled apart by old men, I'd love to die like that. And when it actually comes around, she's like, actually, no, she's just terrified. Yeah. So it's all kind of facade and stuff, and you kind of see both sides of her, but I do really like the character, the costume, the whole look. I do really like that.
Yeah, it's my number one, like, iconic Linnea Quigley kind of role, you know. It's a funny one. It's like, you know, when I got a chance to sort of meet her, I'm like, you know, choosing a particular picture that was of Trash, and I'm thinking, I've spent most of my life seeing you naked, woman. You know, for me, it's an iconic role for her. You know, she looks great as well. The whole hair and I don't know, the kind of fake tattoo she's got down the side of her face. Something like that. Okay, right, my next one, I'm going to leave that one because it's kind of like tied up near the end. We already touched upon the torso thing, the whole animatronic torso thing. Yeah. But mine specifically, the conversation that happens there. I love how this conversation is done. The camera's zoomed in really, really close to Ernie and Ernie's face a lot of the time. He's dripping with sweat, he's red, he's panicked, you know, he's a thing, but he's trying to get some form of information, and the information he can only really gain is why they eat brains. But to have it explained in the way it is, and it's basic, and it's a horrible thing when we really think about it, and it's basically the pain of being dead, and eating brains momentarily halts that feeling of rotting and stuff like that, and you're kind of like, oh, okay, kind of makes
it's not a grim element to it.
It is a grim element, and you know, it's done really, really well. Where, you know, like,
you can hear me. Why do you eat people?
Not people. Brains.
Brains only.
Yes.
Why?
The pain.
What about the pain?
The pain of being dead.
Hurts to be dead.
I can feel myself rot.
They're almost on two levels at that point. She, you know, she'd eat his brains the moment she get, but she can't because she's tied down and stuff like that. You know, and he keeps getting close to her face, like as well. He doesn't ask her standing back. He gets really close to her face. You know, like, and the camera, like I said, the fact the camera keeps so zoomed in close on it. You know, yeah, I love that conversation. The pain of being dead.
My one.
Yeah.
My one. It's about you actually.
Okay.
I said like how much you love it.
All right.
I've always loved that, like how much you love it, like the tattoos that you've got because of this film. How much it's inspired you for like zombie films and like your just absolute love of it.
Yep.
And like Rachel Linnea Quigley when you got to meet her and stuff like that. That was really cool to see you all kind of like fanboy and like because normally nobody can't shut you up, but you was like
Yeah.
What do I say to her? How do I start? How do I approach her? What do I do? What do I do? And I thought that was really sweet.
Okay.
In fact, you genuinely just love her. Yeah. So I thought I've always liked that.
Okay. Embarrass me now. Well, you know, we are called games Brrraaains A Head-Banging Life, and that brains with the 3 R's and the 3 A's, it came from Return of the Living Dead, so it should show you the influence on that massively. So my next one is a specific scene, a scene that sort of haunted me as a child, and as an adult. I still I love it, but I hate it at the same point because I just think it's really, really scary. And it's basically when the paramedics, one set of paramedics go back into the ambulance, and they go back into the ambulance. He's in the front and he knocks the light.
Yeah.
And turns the light on, and we see the light up like all his waiting zombies in a circle around him. Oh, that's so horrible.
Yeah.
Like, what are they waiting for?
Yeah.
You know?
They're just there.
Yeah, just there. You know, that's pretty horrible. And then that scene, like the makeup's pretty good, and the ones at the front look like they're wearing. Some of them wearing. Like, I remember there's a woman that's wearing like an outfit that looks like it's from a different era, which would be the case.
Yeah.
You know.
Digging up the graves. Yeah.
While I'm on that point, talking of which, I love the fact that a lot of the zombies are wearing suits. The men in particularly suits and ties, because that's often what you might get buried in.
Yeah.
In a suit. Yeah, love that. Yeah. Yeah. An extra one there. Got any more?
Yeah. The bleak ending.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no kind of like sort of soppiness or goes back to like a comedy ending. It's just there you go, end. Really quite abrupt. You get the I can't do the noise. The
whistle of a bomb.
Whistle,
yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I just thought it was really harsh. You're like, oh, okay, it might end with like just all them not being killed, and it's like, no, government get involved, nuke the place. So
I agree. It's part of my one as well. Mine is that fucking ending, in particular the freeze frame. I would love to go back and remember what I thought back at the time, because realistically, watching it now, you realise there's actually no way out of this for anyone. So like, it's kind of like, how are they going to get out? And the fact that the movie decides to go with what is arguably an abrupt ending as well, which is the dropping of the bomb. But to me, it's perfect. It's like the most obvious way of what would probably happen in real life, I think. You know, it's already at that point. You see a scene beforehand where the zombies are breaking out of the cordons. You kind of know this ain't going to be contained in that one cul-de-sac for much longer.
Yeah.
So like, you kind of want to stop that. And for the price of a few people, which is what it is, against what would be the country... You know, you can't really argue too much with what would be, it's the right decision to make. But it's like, oh shit, every character just gets killed in one hit. And it's the freeze frame moment. As the bomb hits the film, if you've never seen it, freezes every character's positions.
What their situation is.
Their situation, you know, from like the set of zombies with Linnea Quigley still topless at that stage, looking directly up, to Ernie and Tina in the attic, and him holding the gun to her head as Freddy breaks through. It's an amazing ending, you know. It's very bleak, as you say. Again, it's complete contrast to the comedy aspects or the fun you might have been having. It's just like, oh,
that's it, they're done.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, listen. You hear anything?
any more? I've got one more. Oh no, I've got two more.
Yeah, I've got two more. 'Cause
Yeah,
that's what we're doing.
yeah,
Nice.
two more.
The brightness of it. So from the Romero films, a lot of Romero films have a kind of
Hue.
to them. You're gonna annoy me because you're gonna go at me because I'm gonna get the wrong one.
Go on.
The army base one, Dawn of the Dead.
Day of the Dead.
Day of the Dead.
Yeah.
That one is so bleak.
It's supposed to be.
It's
though.
supposed to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that kind of goes for all the films. So that kind of sets the tone for them films. This film had more to go with like the punky element. They had like the punky hair. I always thought to say just a brighter, just overall brightness, which kind of goes against how bleak it is. But yeah, there's always a bit more colour running through it.
I think it's a great one. Yeah, I think you're right. When you really think about it, it's not one I even thought about. But you're right. Everything's colours, vivid colours. Outfits that are chosen to wear being certain colours and certain brightness, blues and reds, and the paramedics' jackets are really bright yellow. And even from outside, everything like trees look green.
Yeah.
You're right. It's got a really vivid colour to it. Yeah. Which I guess kind of ties to my next one because I was going to say about the gore. In the sense that it's really brutal at times. A lot of that is down to the redness of the blood. When it sprays and when you see it, it can be really, really bright red, but not like fake looking red. Not like Dawn of the Dead 1980s. The what's it called the kind of gore you got in that bright redness and there. It looks more real, I think, like that. I always think like, particularly when it comes to brain eatings, more than anything else.
Yeah.
Like more than anything else, there's a scene where the zombies ask for some more paramedics. The actor is eating the head.
Like scooping it
That
out of the,
dude is going to town. Like credit to him, he's full on like face in this like model thing and so on. And there's also again another interesting story in regards to what that stuff was and how it made people sick.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. But yeah, I think it can be really, really like really. There's not loads of gore, but when it's there, it's really
well done.
brutal.
Yeah.
Really brutal. I think the gore. I think that's sort of thing that if it was released now, ignoring the nudity and all that, it might like be a 15, and then all that gore knocks it up to an 18. That kind of thing instantly. I've got one more. So I'm going to just do my last one, and you can finish up. Mm-hmm. I love the fact that it concises the story into a very short period amount of time. It actually starts. It tells you the time at the start, like 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I think it is, or PST, whichever one it is, and it ends at 5:01.
Yeah.
So basically, it's a 13 hours and 1 minute period. But as the film goes on, from our scale, it's terrifying almost, and it's a scary element of the movie of how quickly it all falls apart. From the moment at 4 when the barrel gets breached to the next moment when the bomb is dropped, the scale of the outbreak started with just a singular thing, which was the reanimated corpse.
Being burnt.
Just being brought back.
Oh yeah.
That's what and all right, Tarman existed then because he would escape from the barrel, but that's still just two things. And then as it got dark and then the night went on, we then got the burning and so on. And from the point of that, you were talking about thousands. Yeah. Thousands have been reanimated and were all running place in 13 hours. I think the way the film shows that scale, step by step, and how bad it got, I think that's brilliantly done. Yeah. Brilliantly done. Yeah. Yeah. Your last one then?
My last one is like the artwork and the books that kind of come along with that film. So you're going to get like behind the scenes stories, and like horror fans love that shit of like background details about this and really pulling it apart. And the backgrounds of films I find really interesting as well. We've got that book, haven't we? Return Living Dead book.
Thanks to it being a cult classic now, it's got cult classic status. There's also a documentary out there you can watch, which includes lots of conversations with the cast and stuff. It's fascinating. There's the books. There's a lot of it is a cult classic now, considered as such, and loved by many and hated by many and so on. So there's more than enough stuff out there. Yeah. So it's Return of the Living Dead. It's bloody great. And if you've never seen it, man, then really give it a shot. Like really give it a go and go on with an open mind because it's different. Yeah. And bear in mind it's the year it was made, released 1985. I think it still holds up to modern day compared to many other things from the 80s. And just enjoy yourself because it's one of those where you should really enjoy yourself. And as always, we've got 10 things we hate as well, so watch out for that video too.